What is going on, guys? This is Derpy here, and I am joined by my co-host, Cujo1989.
Yeah,
Today we are talking about the new Talon T-44-122, and we're going to decide whether or not it's worth it, right? We first saw this thing on Tuesday come out, and I went ahead and looked at it. I think I like it. But, however, Cujo seems to disagree with me, so we're going to have to try and weigh out our options.
he's fangirling.
Yes, I am. I'm absolutely going mad over this tank because it's a faster IS. And the IS, I actually have 3 marked.
Yes, but it also has a worse rate of fire than the IS. If you're like a 16-second range, maybe you can get 14 with equipment and a really good crew. Maybe.
Right, but, sometimes you're okay with a little bit of a quicker reload. I mean, if you look at, tanks like the Sheridan, with the derp gun, sometimes just going around derping people is just really, really fun. I personally
Yes,
enjoy
but
that kind of gameplay.
yeah, but that has at least the lottery potential of 700, 800. This one's a consistent, no, it's your Russian 122 all the way from tier 5 to 10. You're gonna maybe do 390 on average, sometimes a little bit higher, but often more like 320, 360. Always just enough to leave them on 5 hit points so they can get that last shot into you.
Yeah, yeah, but at the same time, it's a very high damage gun, for a tier 7. I mean, it's essentially a T-44, but at tier 7.
We're looking at anywhere from 1200 to 1500 DPM a minute, depending on how lucky or unlucky you are. The mobility, I'm sure, is good, but the armor's quite lacking.
How fast does this thing go? This thing goes about 52 kilometers forward.
Uh,
That's actually really good.
I mean, it does have a really good power to weight ratio at 16.61. That's not terrible. Fire chance is 15%, so given the new module system, you're probably going to burn once in a while.
Considering I think the E5 has a 20% fire chance. So trying to compare, there are tanks that it can also catch on fire more likely than this thing. Because I know 15% is a pretty high number, but at the same time, it's like there are other tanks that have higher fire chances. I think the T-29 actually has a
Oh.
higher fire rate. Let me check.
Just kind of thumbing through modules here, and I finally have scrolled over to ammunition, and really neat thing. Shoot the other side. If you have the chance to see this thing, shoot it on the front on the other side of the driver's hatch, and there's this massive block that is the ammo rack. So you can take that 16-second reload and turn it into around a 30-second reload, just for shits and giggles with 1 or 2 shots.
Yeah, that is one of the issues, is that the ammo rack is pretty exposed at the very front. So more than likely you're going to get penned and your ammo rack's probably going to go out. There's a lot of close compact modules in this tank.
I'm assuming there's going to be a fuel tank in front of that ammo rack too, if I
The
had to guess by looking at that big void.
yeah, I want to say it's still it's just behind the engine. Like if you look at the very back of the turret, you notice that little block. And it's kind of like
Yeah,
a
I
little
know,
line
but
in
they never.
between.
Okay, yeah, more than likely that is a fuel tank. Now that's the one thing they usually don't show in the different modules. They don't include that. I guess they don't think it's quite good enough.
Yeah, I know that would be really nice to know, especially because that's one of the key modules in game, and if that gets damaged, you're more likely to catch fire. And I did look at the engine fire chance on the T-29, and it does have a higher
Hmm.
fire chance than this. So it's laced.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not as likely to catch on fire. It's only by 5% though.
I mean, basically what you're looking at is a moderately armored, reasonably mobile medium with a kind of substandard gun.
I mean, I wouldn't consider it substandard. I mean, it's below its tier. So essentially you can one shot tier fives with this 122. You know,
Yeah, yeah, to a point, yeah, you can. If they had made the reload, more like 12 to 13 seconds, then this would have been a hell of a lot better. But it's 1661 base, it just,
yeah.
oh. At 16-second base reload, it just ooh. With .43 accuracy, ooh.
Well, I mean, it's a Russian
Uh,
tank. What do you expect from it? I mean,
yeah, I
it's
mean, true, this thing will be going at full speed while flying through the air over a railroad embankment and still hit you anyway. But
yeah.
when you stop to aim, it's going to miss
Not to
completely at all.
mention, not to also mention the 122 aims a little bit faster than the 122 on the T-44. Instead of it being 3.4 seconds, it is 3 seconds, which is somewhat faster, but you know it's not. It should be a noticeable difference, especially because it's a Russian gun.
Well, a good way to look at this tank, though, is looking at the bonuses they've given to it. 20% for XP, okay, nothing outstanding, but a 60% on the silver. So this is more of a money maker than an XP grinder. Kind of like how the T-34-88 is the opposite. It's an XP tank instead of a silver tank.
Right.
So I guess that's something for it,
hmm I like the
but it is
I
squishy.
like the paint scheme on it, you know, with the little eagles and everything. But it's like
It's a
I
fire chicken.
it is a fire chicken.
It's a Russian fire chicken.
It's it's a
What's
phoenix.
the Russian equivalent of a mullet?
Uh, a tracksuit. I don't know.
Uh,
But I like the paint
maybe.
scheme. It's just like, you know, it's not the prettiest of tanks. You know, considering that the turret ring is very exposed.
This thing's kind of a fugly little thing. It's something that Mom loves, but everybody else just kind of looks at it and goes, "Oh,
Well, at least it looks better than the KV5. Maybe like a baby KV5. This is
yeah." But the KV5 is so hopelessly grotesque and just lumpy in general that it's hard to really hate it. It's so ugly, it's cute. This thing's just ugly,
well. I mean,
unfortunately.
I just think it's kind of cool. You know, with the little insignia on the engine deck. You know, I wouldn't consider this thing ugly. I actually
See,
kind of I like it. You know, it's just that the turret's a little up there.
and to add one more kick in the ass, I halfway wonder, with its 5 degrees of gun depression, is that affected by the driver's hatch there on the front, where it suddenly bumps to like 2 or 3 over that one spot? I wonder.
That's an interesting
As I
question.
won't be buying this tank, I really couldn't tell you.
I do plan on buying it, which it'll probably be next week that I
Fangirl.
buy it. Of
Fangirl.
course. Listen, man. On paper, this looks good to me. All right, if it can go up to 52 kilometers an hour, it's good for me.
Considering we just finished playing a match in this thing where I played against it in a 4205, A45, a 4201 A45. That thing only has a 17 pounder, and it made a mess of this thing. I took out the engine, the tracks, I damaged the ammo rack before he finally got blown up by something else. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. But like the one issue that everybody's having with this tank is that it's the price too. Is because like right now we are looking at the bundle for the loaded package, or no, the ultimate package. It's the ultimate package, and they're charging 10,000 gold for this, and you know, like 30 days of premium. You know,
They've
so
got the 30 days of premium, they've got the 15 times 3 XP boost, and then 15 times 4 crew XP. So they're kind of gimmicking and reading it.
right.
I think. What's this going to work out to as a tank by itself, roughly?
It
Maybe in the
it is
ballpark of
exactly
7 to 8?
7,550. That's Revelry's Ave prices.
And arguably, thing is, even if the base comes out, you got the deal of the week going on. And right now, the Revelorize is 3,800. And in reality, you're going to be better served by that thing than this thing. At least there, you already know you don't have armor, so you never try to use it.
Right, right, and you know it is a tier 8 medium, but like that's not the best tank you can possibly get, right? Like, what made Wargaming think that this tank right here, this T-44-122, was a good decision to have it at this like that much of a price?
Because everybody says T-44 and immediately thinks tier 8. But even when you go through the tank's actual description, it's described as having a different hull, different engine. God, what else? I mean, literally,
Different
it's
turret,
completely different.
different turret armor layout.
Yeah, let's look at this one here. The 1943 prototype featured a different hull shape, different turret, different engine, and different armor layout. So they call it a T-44, and they're trying to kind of play on that. But then it's not.
I mean,
It's like it's wearing a bad Halloween costume.
it's like a prototype. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the prototype hull for the
No,
the
that's exactly
T-54,
what it is.
I mean, you can kind of see the evolution a little bit from this hull to like the T-44 and then to the T-54. You kind of see the
Oh no,
the evolution.
you can absolutely see that move along. It definitely, especially when you look at the front of this thing and you see the that front visor that looks like it's right off a T-34. They just kind of slapped in there, you know. You're
Yeah.
looking at the driver's port. It just this thing's a special little critter. I suppose it depends on what you want. If you want that big alpha shot, and then to pull back around the corner and sit and wait about 15 seconds or so, and then finally pull back around and hopefully you get another shot.
And really, that's sometimes is a game that's like somehow gameplay that is good. You know, like I actually enjoy having a really fast tank and doing a lot of damage in a short amount of time. That's why I primarily run like a Sheridan with like a derp gun or something like that. You know, not because
Basically, this
it's.
is gonna.
Go ahead.
No, finish.
Okay, but basically, like I'd rather shoot my shot, do a fuckload of damage, and then fall back for my reload. You know.
You're going to have to play this as a second-line tank and hope that the people you're backing up are of a good, competent nature to survive. Because once they start dying and dropping, you need to be running because you cannot outfight anything else, really. Because even though they're tier 7s, they're going to have, a slightly more DPM to about equivalent, but if you run into more than one tank at a time, you're just not going to be able to outfight them. You're not, without running away.
Yeah.
And that brings me on to the 370 view range. Not bad, so you're going to have to put into some equipment and crew training to really max that out. But as sits base, that's just not quite good enough. It's
Especially
not bad,
for a medium
but
tank.
Not good enough.
I could see one of the main problems I'm going to have with this is the gun depression and the spotting. Only because, like, Russian tanks
I
are just
wouldn't hold the
naturally-
gun depression against it. It's standard Russian 5 degrees of gun depression. That's everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't even hold that against it. The view range, though, unfortunately, is bordering on heavy lines.
Right. I mean, it's got a pretty decent concealment, too, with a .28 for stationary and .21 for moving. I mean, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, true.
It's low silhouette,
Signal range
makes
is
it
a
a
little
smoke.
weak, but not horrible. So that the signal range kind of stinks, but not the end of the world. 1100 hit points, yeah, pretty much bog standard. 53 km/h top speed, okay, yeah, pretty much normal. Yeah, like it's a middle of the road tier 7 heavy, and its gimmick is big alpha.
Right, and I quite enjoy the gimmicky kind of stuff, You gotta put some work into
I
that.
prefer a KV-13 with the derp, but
Right.
that's a hell of a lot cheaper than this thing is. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Just spam heat, and when all else fails, you always have HE.
Well, I guess we can kind of come to the conclusion here that this tank is okay at best.
Yeah, let's go with that.
We'll go with
sounds
that?
reasonable.
Alright. In that case, since we just came up with that jurisdiction, we're just going to go ahead and end it here. I want to thank you guys for watching. I've been joined by my co-host Cujo1989. And we will see you next time. Bye.